This past Friday, it was the 8-year anniversary of Sonic Mania, and yes, I'm still in disbelief that it was indeed 8 years ago that we got to experience Sonic Mania for the first time. To commemorate the anniversary, director Christian Whitehead had a post on Blue Sky, and to say that it has shook the community is an understatement. He said the following. It is now the 8th anniversary of Mania, so time to dig up some Sonic trivia. This year, it's Kanga Klanga, aka the Kangas. This lovable Robo-Roo originally lived in the Outback, but now entertains us all in Pinball Carnival Zone. So this was a badnik designed during the conceptual phase of what would have been Evening Star's sequel to Sonic Mania, but that obviously never ended up happening, and we got Sonic Superstars instead, which took a lot of the ideas that Evening Star had at the time, but was then continued on by Arzest and Sonic Team. So we get this image of the Klanga Badnik as it shows up in Sonic Superstars, but then Whitehead also attached these two images. Kanga Klanga Badnik, as it appears in a 2.5D prototype Evening Star worked on after Sonic Mania. It is balancing on its tail and kicking forward with its springy Roo feet. Sonic is knocked to the left with significant kinetic force. And ends with dropping this image, a wider shot of Kanga Klanga hopping in pursuit of Sonic in the Outback. So Whitehead just casually, out of nowhere, decided to show conceptual art for what Sonic Mania 2 would have been. And you can see already, just within the aesthetics and the color palette, how so many of the visual cues ended up being in their indie game, Penny's Big Breakaway. And I always think it's cool when developers get to show you behind the scenes sneak peeks like this, but to add fuel to that fire, Tee Lopes ended up responding to this saying, "What could have been but never was, wonder if there's some lost music too," and then hours after posting that just decided to drop, "Oh yeah, here's the track for this level, it was called The Outback, this is what it sounds like, and it is the music that you're hearing in the background now, and it is awesome." It sounds like a lovely mix between both Act 2s of Press Garden and Mirage Saloon, and man does it just reaffirm that I would love to have Tee Lopes working on a full Sonic soundtrack again. Naturally, because this information came out, a lot of people are talking about Sonic Superstars, which is about to have its 2-year anniversary in a few weeks, and a lot of people lamenting what could have been and the desire for Evening Star to come back and develop a Mania 2. And I like Sonic Superstars more than most people. I thought the level design was great, it had really smooth frame rates, certain aesthetics like Pinball Carnival and Cyberstation really stood out, but I also think it had its fair amount of issues that I can understand how they would ruin the game for some people. An inconsistent soundtrack, terrible boss design across the board, a general feeling of playing it safe. Yes, there were cool new aesthetics like I just mentioned, but there were also a lot of returning themes like another sand area, another factory area, another jungle area, repeating what some people had critiques of Mania, where the majority is a lot of what we've seen before and not enough of it is taking Sonic to new places, and also the game was overpriced. It never should have been $60, it should have been max $40. I still think Superstars is a good game, and I definitely disagree with the people who try to paint Superstars as if it's as bad as Sonic 4. It is no Sonic 4, but it's also no Sonic Mania, and I think when people got Mania, loved it, and just wanted a sequel to that, not getting to see that continued when it just feels like the slam dunk answer, people were naturally going to be disappointed and frustrated with what came next, and SEGA has to accept that. And unfortunately for both SEGA and Evening Star, 2D Sonic isn't where SEGA wants it to be, and Evening Star has been going through some problems. Superstar sold well, we just found out that it hit 2.5 million copies, but even then, it still didn't live up to the expectations that SEGA had for it. Now, one of those I think being straight up delusion, because if they were expecting it to sell on the same trajectory of Sonic Frontiers, whatever executives at SEGA thought that was going to be the case are smoking crack. But two, and I think this is the real answer, I think SEGA and Sonic Team were genuinely expecting Superstars to review well both critically and by the fans in the same ballpark as Mania, and it wasn't even close to that. They thought it was going to be this rejuvenation of 2D Sonic that everyone felt, and that's not what happened. But then also for Evening Star, Penny's Big Breakaway didn't do as well as they thought it was going to. It looked great, and I had full intentions of buying and supporting the game on launch, but then I saw it release on Steam and I saw it being bombarded with reviews talking about how it's optimized poorly and it had a ton of bugs and glitches, so unfortunately I've never ended up playing it. I just kind of forgot about it, and then seeing near the end of the year, around the time Shadow Generations came out, that Evening Star ended up having to do some layoffs, which is a shame because I have so much love and appreciation for that team and what they've done. which is not Evening Star's fault. The whole Penny situation totally screams that they were pushed to drop the game earlier than it was supposed to, but then also had to deal with the brunt of the consequences. But it seems like things were amicable. The Game Informer article talking about Sonic Mania 2 and why it didn't happen around the time of Sonic Superstars, the Mania team still has a good relationship with SEGA, and I'd assume it's probably contract disputes on why Sonic Mania 2 ultimately didn't happen. SEGA, pay Evening Star and let them make the 2D Sonic they want to make. I would love if Arzest got to come back and get another shot fixing the mistakes of Superstars and getting to make a sequel. Or if Sonic Team, now staffed more than ever, wants to take that endeavor themselves. Maybe make a modern 2D Sonic game that builds off of the great stuff that we saw in Shadow Generations. But if there is a window for Evening Star to come back and work on 2D Sonic again, make it happen. Because this is just concept art for what could have been, and the fact that it is resonating with people as much as it is a testament to how much people loved Sonic Mania and how much people love the artist that made Sonic Mania as masterful as it is. And it also adds a lot of questions to what the future of 2D Sonic is going to be now. I made a video a few months ago predicting and theorizing what I think could be happening, but them revealing this, that changes a lot of what I think we might end up seeing in the future. Which, let me know down below for question of the day. What do you think the next 2D Sonic game will be now, considering that we have this information? I'll take some comments, I'll come up with some ideas, and I'll make a follow-up video. Let's talk about and theorize what we think the next chapter for 2D Sonic is going to be. Because it seems like SEGA really wants to get it right, and maybe bringing Evening Star back is the answer they need. Time will tell. I love seeing the behind the scenes of game development, so shout out to Whitehead and Lopes for sharing this information. And I can't wait to see what they do next. And at the end of the day, all of this conversation made me download the demo for Penny's Big Breakaway. I'll give it a shot and see if I like it. And it made me re-download Sonic Mania because I haven't played it in a while. So I'm gonna finish this video and get to that. Thank you for watching. Love y'all. Have a blessed one.